Welcome back to Tran Wins Siralim Ultimate. Today we're going to show you the Pariah build that I have created. You can see that our characters are level 1. And we are going to embark on a mission that is level 9 difficulty rating, resulting in enemies that are 1 million levels higher than me. Now let's see how this goes. Now, this team cannot handle a boss, so just for the sake of it, we're just going to go to 539. We can do instability rounds, but I want to try to explain what's going on. Okay, so as soon as I hit the begin battle button, a bunch of things are going to happen. The enemy just suddenly died. Why? Well, if we take a look at this trait here, this is the Divine Phoenix. It dies at the beginning of his turn. Now, I happen to give him Surprise, which comes from the Mimic, meaning that he will start the battle. Then he'll die immediately. Well, why is that helpful at all? We take a look at his equipment item. He has something called the Improbable Catapult, which is a backer item. That doesn't mean that I backed the game in that way. It means that somebody who backed the game created this trait that is in the game now. So the Improbable Catapult gives the enemy a copy of his innate trait. The innate trait is whatever he starts with, his first trait, which in this case is Terminus. That means that all the enemies have Terminus. So at the start of their turn, they die. My macro is very simple. It is skip turn. There we go. They're dead. Okay, let's take a look at the other guys. They're totally irrelevant. I just made them as backup. We can change it up if I run into problems, but this is an Aussian who as a Pariah, you can only have 3 characters. Here we are. The Pariah, it says here, her friends are few, but she has to be resourceful. The perk is you can only use 3 creatures at a time, and druid anointments are ignored. So that's why I have 3 creatures. Anyway, so this Aussian, he gives my 3 creatures rebirth. And I go ahead and give him, my whole team, resistance to debuffs. I mean, again, these characters are irrelevant. They don't matter at all. I just need the guy on the left and maybe one other person to survive. Pandemonium Rebirth, again, just to help me out. If you don't remember what that does, because it's been like 2 years since my last video on this game, it basically says when this character holding this Pandemonium Rebirth dies, everybody else comes back to life. Alright, this character, he's a Satyr Guardian. You might remember I use him a lot. He says that enemies can't keep resurrecting. I also gave him another trait, the Nyx Informer's trait, Supersonic, meaning the enemies shut up. I don't want them wasting my time casting spells. I really don't like that. Finally, his third item, his artifact, is Secret Recipe. When he revives everyone else. That's it. These guys, they're really not necessary. This is the key. Let's also tackle a Gate of the Gods. So we're just going to save and restart. I'm not going to really finish this mission. I mean, I could, but you don't need to see it. That's not the point of this video. Okay, at this time, you should be looking at my spreadsheet. Yes, I make spreadsheets all the time. Of what it takes to beat each god. And I've sorted it by what Aeolian needs to be, essentially. So that way you can minimize how often you need to change your teams. Yes, I do need to change teams a lot for this, because you only have 3 characters. So you really need to make each one count. If it says Aeolian any, that means it doesn't really matter what you have, just bring in Aeolian. And then it has maybe a recommended item. In many cases, it may not even matter that you have this item equipped, especially if it says Aeolian any. Really, his whole existence just means that you don't get hit by physical attacks. There's a lot of information here, but let's carefully unpack it. If it says Aeolian any or Sidekick any or whatever, it basically means this information's unimportant. Just bring anybody, but here is a recommended one if you're a little bit cautious. Maybe you just really, really want your hand held. They need to guide you like, hey, do this exact thing. So first off, our main character is the Ashmouth Cerberus. He has Spell Tap. This means that enemies, when combined with the Improbable Launcher that I just demonstrated, enemies will never be able to manually cast spells. They can still cast spells if it's a side effect of them attacking, some sort of trigger event, such as I cast spells when I die, kind of thing. But this will keep them from manually hitting you with magic. The catapult, we will give him the surprise ability from the Mimic so that he can move first. Remember that the catapult only takes effect on the character's first move. So if he doesn't get the move, he doesn't get the catapult. The second character in many of these teams, but not all, is Aeolian. This will allow me to avoid physical hits. In this case, we're currently using the Abyssal Wisp. This will allow Aeolian to cast 4 times total. So it's his default time plus 3 additional times. This will be very helpful for enemies like Mortem. This makes Aeolian our damage dealer, as long as he's our Lyra version. Our sidekick in this case is a Valkyrie Queen. This allows our characters to always provoke at the end of their turns, in case we're using a helmet that gives us a spell slot that we wanted. And we'll cover artifacts in a second. Our Valkyrie Queen is merged with the Wisp Seer. This will help us fight Azural later. So this gives us 3 random buffs every time the Valkyrie Queen gets the move. Let's talk about the artifacts. The first and most important one is the Improbable Catapult. Boots, when worn, have a chance of activating their spell slot. So in this case, its spell slot is Living Ribbon. The Living Ribbon spell gives you immunity on all of your characters, thus preventing you from getting hurt by debuffs. You already know that we can be immune to attacks and spells, manually cast spells anyways. This will prevent things like poison and bomb from killing us outright. The other 2 characters are currently equipped with Chroma's Shelter Staves. Chroma's Shelter allows you to not take damage from enemies of your class. This may not be particularly relevant for the very next fight we will do, but we will be using the Chroma's Shelter in a couple of the fights. Meraxis and Torun come to mind. Instead of making a brand new staff for every fight, we're just reusing staves that will be needed later on. Alright, let's go ahead and showcase what a battle might look like. We have already defeated all the gods twice, and Torun 3 times. The Torun's 3rd time was, I think I had a prophecy card or something like that. The first time for all of the bosses was just so I could summon them, and the second time was so I could keep some reserve mana. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with Lister on our spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and hit the enemy at max difficulty, not because I'm trying to flex anything, but because there is an achievement that you need to defeat the bosses at difficulty level 50. So the enemy's going to be at 2,500. We have 3 characters at level 100. We don't really have much that we can do at this moment, because this guy he's not able to cast, and the enemy is going to dodge any attacks we make. If we look at our Cerberus, he has a speed of 656, attack of 718, and if we look at the enemy, even if he weren't immune to everything, look at that. He's 10 times our stats. Easy. So we don't actually need to do anything here. We're just going to go and defend. Now, the enemy is confused and cursed because I have some anointments running on. For the case of Lister, you just need to do nothing. My Aeolian is kind of going berserk, though, because of his multi-cast abilities. Alright, we're done with Lister. Easy enough. Let's check out the next god. We're going to attack Perdition. So Lister is immune to everything. Perdition, he likes to attack your whole party. Aeolian pretty much nullifies it. How do we fight this battle? First, Cerberus doesn't really have much to do. Now the reason why I want to remove my anointments is sometimes the enemies will be able to trigger an effect if they hit somebody. Let's take a look at this Cerberus. Not in this specific case, but there are enemies in the game that when they successfully hit somebody, it triggers an event, whether it's poison all enemies, bomb all enemies, cast a spell, kill an enemy, whatever the case is. These are things that we don't have traits for. So we always dodge. This will mean the enemy cannot implement their on-attack effects on us. But they can hit each other. That's why I want to get rid of my Confusion Anointment for the purposes of this run-through. I just normally leave it on. I like Holy Blast. Let's try that. This is going to set the enemy down to 25% of their health. If it hit, and it didn't, it targeted other dudes. I'm not sure why it targeted other dudes. Let's see here. We take a look here. Oh, you get intercepted because they were provoking. Alright, that's fine. This gives me damage scaled to enemies' health. Things that are scaled to the enemy is always good in this game because enemies will typically be stronger than you. If they happen to be weaker than you, you don't need that powerful spell anyways. Let's go ahead and hit them. If we made their barrier 200% of their health, Warp Reality would do 200% of that barrier's in damage. He's gone now. So they're attacking and nothing's happening. Let's try again with Perdition. This is how battles should look. You hit the god, you warp with the god, and then you clean up. In many cases, cleanup will just be more Warp Reality. Okay, let me fine-tune that just a little bit. Okay, we have decided on our next target. It is going to be Vertraag, God of Time. Vertraag's gimmick is if you take too long, your characters just die. We're not going to take very long at all. Holy Blast, why didn't it work? Let's see here. Okay, we get redirected by this guy right here. When an enemy attempts to cast a single target spell on any creature, which is in this case the Vertraag, they have a 50% chance to target themselves instead. So we just got blasted, but it's okay. It didn't actually hurt us. Let's try again. Alright, we failed that roll once more. Try again. God of Time is warning us that our time is running out. Failed again. If you know anything about my gameplay, I always fail on random stuff. It just happens consistently. So the fourth time, we managed to finally land a blow on Vertraag. He's gonna get to move before we do, and our time has come. We are doomed. But we had rebirth, so we're actually okay. Let's go ahead and revive everybody. We have Requiem, which is better than Flourish. It just has fewer chargers. However, we are running an Astrologer Anointment, which means that our 3 characters with the highest intelligence cast spells free of charge. So, we only have 3 characters. We're back on our feet. I don't know if Vertraag does it a second time. Anyways, now let's go ahead and start Warp Reality. It's not too bad, because even if we target ourselves, we don't have a barrier, so let's continue to try. Alright, Vertraag is gone. So the way the script works is, and I'm going to fine-tune it just a little more as well. Ideally, he would Holy... Let me see here. Why did he Holy Blast? Figured it out. Apparently, the enemy number 1 is not Vertraag. Enemy number 1 is Kolos Champion. It's been a long time since I played. I couldn't remember which one is which. We'll fix that in a minute. I'm not sure which one enemy Vertraag would be. Would it be enemy 5? Alright, that's fine. We'll go ahead and take an actual hand in this. I'll work on the macros. We're gonna Holy Blast and Warp Reality them. And they're gone. Our next target is going to be Surathli. I should have actually changed my staff to the one with the sickness trait to prevent her from healing. This is fine. Would Holy Blaster. Of course, it doesn't matter because the enemy is provoking, so we'll just try what we can. Not too worried about their rebirth. They'll go down after a couple spells or even a couple turns. There we go. Finally hit Surathli. So this is what happens if you don't bring the sickness staff. She'll be able to keep mending, but she eventually died. You know what, now that she's gone, one of the reasons why I target the boss first is once the boss is gone, the enemy is... He's weak sauce. We can just greater dispel everything, and they no longer have any buffs. We'll blast the rest of them, and then we'll do some cleanup. Alright, next up, we are going to swap out our Valkyrie Queen for a Phase Champion. The Phase Champion's ability is not that important, it's just something to give us increased odds of survival. The important part is actually our Sorcery Shapeshifter. The Sorcery Shapeshifter allows us to heal our opponent. It doesn't sound very useful. So we're going to attack Friden. Friden can only be given damage by Blight. And Blight, for those who not in the know, means that healing spells do damage. So basically we're sort of doing reverse of reverse. Alright, so let's go in Holy Blast. And Warp Reality, while it will do 200% damage, it's going to do 200% heal. With Blight, that heal is actually damage. So, goodbye, Friden. Then we just need to clean up. That's one thing I don't like about the relics. They just cast any spell that you have, and that could be Holy Blast. That's fine. We'll Warp Reality this guy away. This next creature will be a little odd. It's set up for a future god, but we're going to start off with the base as a Satyr Guardian, combined with Dormant Basilisk. Before recording all of this, I did plan it ahead, and this is me reusing characters where I would otherwise have a sidekick Innie. So Erebyss' gimmick is, every other turn she has, she kills off your entire party. That's where my rebirth comes in, if we were to make it that far. Again, these are just contingency plans. Maybe there's an enemy that... Maybe she has a Nightmare Golem and makes my creatures fall asleep at the beginning of the match. Okay, something happened there. I'm not quite sure what. I don't know if it really matters all that much. Let's see here. We're casting Fermented Hops as usual. That's kind of a passive ability. Oh, I think the Valkyrie Champion casts a spell. After an enemy targets one of them, this creature casts it back on me. So that's what happened. He cast Warp Reality back on me. So if I were to actually cast Warp Reality again, he's going to blast my character. That's fine. We are actually okay. We're going to go ahead and just Holy Blast all of them for now. And we'll take care of them all in one swoop. So now we're going to just Requiem. So we're back up on our feet. And let's see here. I guess we can just Warp Reality him. And if he happens to kill the Aeolian, that would be a little bit of trouble. Let me think here. He's got Shallan. That is kind of a bit of a problem. Yeah, if he hits Aeolian, that is an issue. But if I Fermented Hops, it should pretty much take care of him. It won't be a single target spell. So now, let's see, do I have Greater Dispel? Yeah, let's go ahead and Dispel. And there we go. This is why I pack all those extra spells. You know what my game plan is by this point, but I have all these extra perks just to make sure I win. The next sidekick we need is the Dolar Sin. When the enemy loses his stats, any stats, they get a debuff. In the past, we had recombined this with the Dryad Vindicator, but we're going to ramp up the damage this time. Or whatever it's worth on Mortem. He can only be damaged 1% at a time. With the Transient Spectre, we're reducing the enemy's defense and speed so that we can attack or do whatever We just basically want to make the enemy hurt more. To that effect, I would recommend, this is the only relic recommendation I have, give the Salus relic over to your creature, rank 30, the bearer defends at the end of his turn, and activates Salted Earth. Let's go and take on Mortem, who only takes 1% damage at a time. Holy Blast, that does not count as damage, so bye-bye health. He now has 25% of his health left. So we have a few things we can do. Warp Reality, it won't hurt him, but it will at least get rid of that barrier, because that is extra health in a way. We can see here that the enemy does not have any positives other than that barrier, so we can cast Warp Reality. Otherwise, we might want to think about casting Greater Dispel. We'll just Warp Reality that shield away. Now he's down to maybe, we'll say, 20% of his hit points. Oh, and it is very important that for Mortem, you have the Sickness Staff equipped. That way, he can't regenerate his hit points. There, he could start with, say, a Life Priest, which is which is very viable, and that does not help you at all. All right, now we need to be able to do enough damage to him. So we're gonna start casting. Oh wait, not Clayman yet. We're gonna start casting Defy Light. That's an important part of our strategy here. So you notice that our Aeolian is life. He also casts 4 times battle. We need to ramp up a stat so that he can hurt the enemy more. Otherwise, he's probably going to do like 5 damage, 10 damage. If I look in the battle history for what we did with Warp Reality, it probably isn't much. He took 2,000 damage. It's okay. And that could just be exactly 1% of... Yeah, it is 1%. Now, that being said, that was with Warp Reality doing an extreme amount of his health. So we still need... I've tested it out. And you want to Clayman yourself 3 times, roughly. The Aeolian, of course, casting so many times makes it a little easier. So let's go and try Holy Shock. We've cast it a total of 5 times, plus any times our staff may have kicked off. So we're going to cast Holy Shock on him. Before we do that, let's take a look at what Holy Shock does. For every unit that is death, because Mortem is death, he gets hit once. This means I will hit him 6 times. And I'm casting this 4 times. Alright, let's take a look and see how much damage we may have done. We can see here that every time we cast Holy Shock, we did about 2,000 damage. That's 1% of his health. And we did cast Holy Shock a few times. Let's see here. Why is it not hitting him more times than that? I only see 4 casts in here. Ah, I see. Because the 1,000 need... I'm going to have to unequip that. Alright, so I would say maybe don't equip any relics. I equipped it because I thought I would look more professional with relics on rather than rushing these bosses with no relics. But in my notes, I don't have any relics attached aside from Salus. So I didn't actually cast that many times because the 1,000 Needles decided that it wanted to take a share of my casting limit for 11 damage. Alright, let's see if this guy can hurt him at all. Yeah, a bit. He probably did more damage than Aeolian. Alright. We're pretty much wrapped up here. And we just need to finish off the enemy, and we have any number of things we can do, such as Holy Shock. We can Holy Shock them to death. With our sheer number of health we have now, it might do it without Holy Blast first. So let's try. Yeah, he died. Okay, next up, we need to replace our ally god. So we're going to replace him with Venedon. This means that we no longer have the ability to avoid enemy attacks. So that is something we have to put back on. Venedon allows us to keep our buffs and the enemy to keep their debuffs. We're going to combine Venedon with the Mimic so that he can go immediately and provoke before the enemy gets to move. The trait item that we've given Venedon so that he can provoke will allow him to dodge attacks. Alright, our next opponent is going to be, it looks like, Gonfurian. I would say that for Gonfurian, go and put your... If you have ability to confuse the enemy, put that back on. We can see here that the enemy has gotten their improbable catapult going on. Venedon is provoking. not much else for us to do right now. The thing about Gonfurian is we can't cast anything. We could punch him, but he only gets hurt when he has enough debuffs. So there's really not much we can do. We can defend, and that'll start adding debuffs to the enemy. Now they have enough debuffs. As you can see here, we can't cast. But we can continue to punch him for like 1 damage. And once Gonfurian dies, this thing is no longer in effect, and you can start casting again. Gonfurian's ability specifically says that enemies cannot cast spells. What you might not realize, or at least this is my assumption, is that it also affects your relics, your artifacts, and your traits. And if he's the last one around, I mean, it's okay, because confusion still means you can attack yourself. Venedon allows his debuff to stay forever, because eventually your enemy's stats will bottom out, and this means that they will no longer get debuffs, because it can't be lowered any further. So he's at 2,000 defense, 3,000 speed, but his attack is still up there, which is why his characters are getting slaughtered out here. We didn't want to lower his attack and intelligence, or anything like that. We just want to make him as vulnerable as possible, and in a way, as strong as possible. Because we're only level 100. Oh, in any case, I'm just going to hold down E now. Alright, now we can start casting. We don't have to change anybody. Let's go ahead and attack Tartarith right away. We can't attack or cast spells. So similar with Gonfurian, we pretty much just have to let the enemy disintegrate themselves. Now our artifacts can kick into effect, which I'm pretty sure is what happened there. Oh, now that he's dead, we can actually cast, but I guess it didn't matter. For the sake of this, I'm just going to go ahead and socket the Living Staff. We're also going to go ahead and pull off all of the relics. And we're going to go ahead and remove all fermented hops. Really, these are the 4 spells we want on our characters. This might come in handy depending on how we roll things. I will say that the artifact here, living with his autocast of Boots of Living Ribbon, that can cause us a little bit of problems. So if you choose to do this one very first, it's probably for the best. But I'll go ahead and roll with it. So for Yseros, you will attack or cast if you attack or cast. So anything we cast, we got to make sure that we are going to be okay being on the receiving end. We put Exhaustion on the helmet. We're just going to defend, do nothing. So to begin with, we can Holy Blast her if we felt like it. She would Holy Blast us. However, since she can't actually lay the damage on us, it doesn't matter. So then we can just cast Greater Dispel. For the time being, we're just going to go ahead and block. We're going to go ahead and let them get themselves debuffed. And then we can worry about other spells later. So they're cursed, confused, bleeding, all sorts of fun stuff. And once Yseros dies, then you can do regular magic. So we don't even need to cast Holy Blast and all that stuff. It's just an option. Now, I am running with an anointment that makes the enemy cursed. If you don't have that, that's cool. You'll be able to put curse on with this level of debuffs anyways. Alright, so she's dead. The enemy will no longer copy, so we can just do whatever we want. If we wanted to, for example, cast Rapture, whatever. We just gotta let them kill themselves at this point. If your relics autocast, if your artifacts autocast, she's gonna do the same thing. And there we go. For our next battle, we're going to go ahead and engage with Apocranox. To begin with, the second character is going to be our deity as usual. It's going to be Friden. He has the black, meaning the enemy will start off with poison and blighted, leeching and mending. This will help the enemy kill themselves. He's going to be combined with the Wandering Shade, which will prevent us from being hurt by some of Apocranox's spells. Even though he cannot manually cast, his trait casts for him. His sidekick will be this Flame-Tongued Ifrit, where when we are burning, we don't get hurt. Combined with the Cancerous Smog. Same thing, but with poison. This is due to the special effects of Apocranox's arrows. Both the god and the sidekick will be possessed with a Staff of Chastity, meaning that as long as they have above 90% health, they will be invisible. Don't forget that Friden's ability allows him to make us immune to damage from spells. You know what? I didn't even bother equipping relics for this one, since I had just unequipped them for Yseros. Alright, so the dog is dead. That's expected, because he's not invisible. So what's going on is, at the start and end of every creature's turn, Apocranox will shoot arrows at us. That means that his whole army, at level 2,500 in our case, is going to go before us. And he casts arrows, and he casts arrows again. We just have to be able to survive that damage somehow. So, in this case, we're going to let them kill themselves. Or we can also speed things along with our Holy Blast combo. So we can see here I can just defend all day long. He can't touch us. So we can see here that we can just defend and it doesn't matter too much. So let's go ahead and Holy Blast him just to get rid of him. And he's gone. Bye-bye. So now we just gotta get rid of the rest of them. So it looks like this guy probably sealed our ability. That's okay, we have a couple others. I'm assuming it was this gem right here. We also have Holy Shock, which is always fun. Let's go ahead and get rid of the next one, it doesn't matter. Alright, for the next 3 fights, they're super easy. In my master plan, I actually have a need for 4 different Aeolians. I only have 2 right now. A base one that is unmerged, and another one that I've already merged on the side. So that counts for 2. This Aeolian is going to fight and claim the 3rd Aeolian, and then this unmerged one will merge to become the 4th one. So if you don't understand, just know that I basically started with 2 Aeolians at this point. If you are doing a Pariah Ascension, I'm sure that you have what it takes to get your own Aeolian to just begin this battle with. His sidekick can be anybody. In this case, we're just bringing a very basic Phase Knight. We'll go ahead and take on Aurum. So both of these characters are equipped with a Chroma Shelter staff. Chroma's Shelter allows me to not take damage from enemies of my own class. Since we're bringing out sorcery people to play, we are okay. Now, I will say that this doggy will die. I can save him if I were to, for example, give him a gem. Materium Relic will make the first gem that he has, he will be that color. But we're not really that worried about it. He just takes up turns. What Aurum does is he says, you die. That's pretty much it. In our case. We're just going to Holy Blast him. We're going to Warp Reality him. And he is gone. Now we no longer have to worry about that. Now we just need to clean up the enemy. As you see, the dog doesn't really do much. He could have just gone away. In the event that Holy Blast, Warp Reality gets patched, fine. You don't have to do it that way. Since they can't hurt us, you have basically as long as you need to do whatever you want. So, for example, you saw that I packed Clayman and Holy Shock. Clayman raises my health, and Holy Shock will allow me to do damage, and I've given it the property of based on my health. This next opponent we're going to take with this exact same team is going to be Tenebris. As always, enemy traits could end up messing with you. So, for example, if he had, say, an enemy that was a Basilisk or Mythicant or something like that, it can throw a monkey wrench in your plan, so be aware of that. You may want to pack accordingly. Now, Tenebris, being a higher level than us, is going to move before us, which will make his invisibility wear off. He is now gone. So now we're going to battle Aeolian himself. This will be the last time we use our unmerged Aeolian. We will be using the Fallen Carnage combined with the Imp Shaman to give us the most opportunity to put a nail in the bird's coffin. So what Aeolian does is he says only one class at a time gets to hurt me. In this case, we have 3 different classes, so one of them really doesn't do much. I've gone ahead and packed all of our characters with different morphs. Now here's the thing. Of course, we are blinded. One of the harpies, I guess, cockatrices, yeah, harpies. We are blinded, and so we may end up missing our Holy Blast. It doesn't matter. Why can Holy Blast work? Because it's not actually damaging the enemy. It's setting the enemy's hit points. We can't actually hurt him at this moment, but we can set him up for being hurt later. So because our speed is so slow, we can actually move twice before Aeolian's next move, not counting the Cerberus. So we can see here that sorcery is the name of the game here. So if he weren't sorcery, we could morph to whatever he is with the first move, and then have, say, the Fallen Carnage act immediately with Warp Reality. Since he is already sorcery, we can go and take him out. Once he's down, the enemy no longer has that requirement that it must be that class. You can kill him with anything. Alright, we are now done with the sorcery-based Aeolian, so we're going to go and merge him with the Dryad Seductress. This will make him into a nature-based creature, so when I combine that with my Chroma Shelter, he'll be immune to nature damage. This will come in handy for Meraxis and Torun. Okay, so let's go up against Torun, God of Anger. He's got a trait that is a little unclear what it does, but it seems just to do damage to you. He's nature, Chroma Shelter, problem solved. We are currently blind, so we may not be able to hit him directly. Turns out we managed to get everybody. There we go. Goodbye, Torun. With the exact same team, we're going to take on Meraxis, God of Bliss. So what Meraxis does is he reflects your damage. With the Chroma Shelter, you don't have to worry about that. Holy Blast. Warp Reality. Now, let's see, what does this do? Immune to damage from spells. Fine, whatever. So we're just ready to dispel him. Oh, actually, he's not even above 90% health. That was fine as it was. Alright, we'll just Holy Blast him back up. It doesn't matter. Then we'll finish him off. He just happened to have survived the random catastrophe that was my Fallen Carnage. Let's introduce our next sidekick. It's going to be the Raving Storm, the one we just encountered, combined with a Mimic. Now, when you have multiple Mimics in the team, sometimes it does get a little messy with the timeline. Like, he doesn't always become second or something. I don't know. You just have to hope for the best. For him, we've got the Staff of the Wrong Side, which allows him to get a chance to give the debuff back to Regalis. Living Ribbon can also give us an added layer of protection. So the opponent we'll be encountering next will be Regalis, Goddess of Poison. What she ends up doing is we are given a debuff at the beginning and end of our turns. Big deal. We get to get rid of her quickly. Now, the Raving Storm isn't necessarily for her. It's just I'm trying to maximize how often I get to use the sidekicks rather than making a different sidekick for each entity. So she's now gone. So we just have to take care of the rest. All the other spells and other traits and stuff, like, the Raving Storm, that's to give us an edge against the other things we might encounter. Because I can't guarantee that you're going to face 2 leeches like I just did. So this gives you a few more tools to deal with unforeseen problems. For the next fight, we're going to bench that Raving Storm for a minute. We need to bring out the Valkyrie Queen, and then we're going to be done with Aeolian, Dryad version. So the Valkyrie Queen, she's going to be equipped with the Duplication Helmet, which will allow that when she provokes, we get buffs. I would go ahead and leave the stuff on the Raving Storm if he has his own equipment and gems, because we're going to bring him right back out after this. One of the guys that requires specific strategy will be Azural. To fight Azural, you need to have buffs. That's all there is to it. It says here that enemies deal 100% less damage, but for every buff you have, he'll take that 1%. So in this case, the Aeolian would do 5%, and the Valkyrie Queen would do 4%. That's why we have the Dryad Seductress merged into this squad. Alright. As usual, we can Holy Blast. That doesn't count as damage. And suddenly we're getting a bunch of buffs. Now, we do have this. The reason I picked the Valkyrie Queen for this one, and it doesn't have to be that one. Pick whatever you want, but I just wanted to try to make things both efficient and well-balanced for the enemy teams. But this Valkyrie Queen has taunting, so you can do whatever you want, and she will still taunt. So we can still Holy Blast enemy, she'll taunt, and share buffs all around. So we can do, at this point, 12% damage to enemy using Warp Reality. It is enough to kill him. Because Holy Blast sets 200% of their health as barrier, and Warp Reality does 200% on top of that to hit him. Alright, so now we're going to retire that Aeolian we just had, and bring out the Chaos-based one that is a Mimic. He's going to be equipped with an artifact that gives him Cloud Connected. Cloud Connected is the same ability as the Raving Storm we just recently had. He also has Mimic, and his item gives him Nature Transformation, which allows me to, if I were to hurt myself, I heal myself instead. This will come in very handy for Zonte. As far as his traits are concerned, we are the enemy. So at the start of the enemy's turn, that's us, we will cast 3 random harmful spells on ourselves. At the start of their turns, they will cast 3 beneficial spells on themselves. So that's why we have this setup. This setup is just for Zonte. We are all mimics. Everybody in this team is a mimic so that we can go first. I do not think you should equip relics for this one. You should go out of your way not to equip relics. The reason for this is we are the ones casting spells. Even though it's the enemy trait, you can see that in this, we cast Dense Fog. We cast Failed Experiment. We cast Pestilence. We're casting all sorts of spells because of Zonte's ability. I don't know why he's casting so much, though, because he doesn't have... Oh, I probably have the Evoker Anointment on, where it says I cast an extra time. Anyways, the reason why I say you shouldn't have a relic is because the game has a limitation on how often you are allowed to cast a spell. So if your relic makes you cast, say, 20 times, and you run out of available casts, when it comes to your turn to move, your Holy Blast or any of your spells will do nothing. We're going to get rid of them as soon as possible. There we go. We wanted to immunity, we wanted to go first, and we wanted not to hurt ourselves even if we cast spells. So now we just need to mop them up. there are gods I haven't actually unlocked, and I'm assuming that I need to unlock them before I can ascend. But I'm hoping that the game will say, you have defeated all the gods you have access to. I give you ascension. I bet the game's not that kind. But anyways, so when you see all these other realms that have been released since I last played, I need to do those before I can... In the unlikely event the developer or someone who cares is watching, I think the stars should not be over here. I think the stars should be here. I think it would be easier if they were all in a line to easily see, if it's like, hey, you have accomplished this, rather than zigzagging your eyes. So that's just me. Alright, so let's just go ahead and do Venedon first. With Chroma's Shelter, that is to make it more likely we can survive attacks, should there be something going on. So let's take a look, see if there's anything that we need to be aware of. Sometimes glancing at them can help you plan for contingencies. Doesn't look like we need to worry about anything. The way my macro is set up, since we were watching the animation, the way my macro is set up is Holy Blast the leader, the god, and then once the god is down, spend time Holy Blasting all of the enemies, and then spend time Warp Realitying all of the enemies. So the priority is on the god. We have one god left to take care of it before I get to see my failure at ascending. So if this is a failure, then I'll have to spend time getting all those realms, and then summoning those gods, and I'll record that footage as well. Some people feel that Vulcanar is a bit of a problem because his special ability is that he continues to revive over and over and over, 5 times basically. Well, we happen to have the Satyr Guardian. Vulcanar will only be able to revive once. Basically, we have completely nullified its ability. Again, patches may happen where the developer says, like, you know, I don't intend for the Satyr Guardian to nerf Vulcanar, so I'm gonna make that not happen. So for right now, this is what works for me. Wait, why did he revive? He's not supposed to revive. It's weird. Oh, I get it. I get it. Okay, sorry. I was thinking, like, did I mess this up? He gets to revive one time. It's not that he can't revive ever, he just gets to revive once. So instead of reviving 5 times, this is the only time he's going to revive. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. I was thinking, like, did I mess that up? Am I wrong? No! Of course not. Goodbye. Okay, untold hours later, I have now unlocked all the other gods. So, to begin with, we're going to merge Friden with the tried and true favorite, the Mimic. This will allow him to get the first move so that he can use the Provoke standalone complex. If he doesn't get the first move, even if he has the standalone complex item equipped, it won't be as effective because the enemies can still hit other people, so he must first provoke. He will be partnered up with a Leech Digger, which will allow me not to take damage from Blighted as long as I am leeching. Fuse him with an Oculum Leech, and that condition is fulfilled. The artifact that the Leech will be carrying will be Greybeard's Blessing, which is an exotic creature material part, or trait. This basically means I do more damage, so the enemy will die faster. First off, we're going to take care of 4080, God of Science.
Battle request accepted. Prepare to die painfully.
Here's how this works. As whenever you do anything, he has a chance to reflect. Now, I know it says, when an enemy attacks one of his creatures. I know it says that. But I have tried spells where I cast it on myself, and he can still reflect it back to my dude. Yeah, like I would have this guy cast a spell on my Cerberus because he's the most expendable, and it would still get reflected back to him. So, it's a lot more varied than it actually means. I've come up with several different ways. You can easily maybe 50-50 of course, Holy Blast, Warp Reality him like the other guys. But I wanted to make a more solid, consistent method of victory. So here's what we got. He takes extreme damage from Blight, mostly because of all of these perks. So he's taking extra blighted damage. He's definitely not ready for it. Combine that with Fermented Hot spells, which will passively cast as time goes on, and he's going to murder himself. Taking the same party, we are going to now attack Genaros, God of Strife. His gimmick is, when he attacks me, he gets more health.
I have always thought a battle between you and I would be an interesting one. Let's not waste time with idle chatter, Tran. Defend yourself.
Alright, now it's just cleanup over here. And once more with the same party, though with one change, just to make things a little bit faster, we're going to equip Ponti and Jihi onto our Provoker. This will, because when he provokes, all the enemies will attack me. That's what we actually want. Even though nothing's going to happen to us, when Shallan attacks, she gets to get hurt. So basically, she starts with basically 120% protection, losing 1 for every time she's attacking or casting. So we're just going to make her attack a bunch. Similar to equipping exhaustion on my items, this is to make her die faster.
You dare come here to challenge me? Very well. Let us see if you're as strong as the other gods say you are.
Alright, so let's go in. Blast. Now, while I can warp reality her right away, it will not kill her. So I'm just going to go ahead and Holy Blast other enemies while we wait. Okay, let's see if that's enough. Nope, it was not. So we'll just have to Holy Blaster again. Oh, maybe, we'll see. Okay, managed to take her out. Like, this character is just barely holding on to the thread of life. But Blight will probably, yeah. For Frida's next challenge, to make things easier, we're going to bring in the Twisted Carver. You can pretty much ignore him. When the enemy acts while invisible, they lose their invisibility. Still, I want to give us a little bit more of an edge. Immersion with Regalis, which allows him to ignore Shelled. Now, you might not have this one because exotic creatures are maybe harder to find initially because they don't have a realm that they particularly wander in. Realistically, any sidekick will do. He's equipped with the Staff of Greybeard that we were using earlier. We're going to attack Ariamaki at the start of the battle, and when they take damage, they become invisible and shelled. Also, anytime we cast a spell, we lose all our charges. You sense Ariamaki's surprise at your arrival. Before long, his resolve washes over you. He is prepared to accept your challenge, but he will not go easy on you. We haven't even gotten to really do anything yet, and he's already almost dead. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to just use the Ethereal Holy Blast. If we lose charges on this, he doesn't have good properties like this one does. And Holy Blast him. He's probably already badly hurt. It's okay. As you can see, we don't actually have to do the Holy Blast thing. I just like doing it because it makes me win in 2 turns. Now we're going to Warp Reality this guy. Because he is shelled, it would normally do no damage. But I don't have to do anything about it. I ignore his shelled. He revived, probably because one of his characters. Let's see which one it is. Now, that being said, these are random enemies, so it could be anything. Let's see here. After your creatures are killed, they have a 25% chance to be resurrected. So yeah, he got another chance. That did throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in my plans because these are now empty, but that's okay. We still have other abilities. So, for example, we've already used up one of his lives. I've already proven that I can kill him without the Holy Blast. And we did have a full charge, enhanced crystals ready to go of Holy Blast and Warp Reality. I just happened to use the weak ethereal ones then. You always gotta have a trump card up your sleeve. These characters, we've seen them both before, and they have two gods lined up that they're going to take down. First, we have Anneltha. When she takes her turn, she eradicates my leftmost creature, and I cannot revive him. Who invited you here, little brat? Perhaps if I knock some sense into you, you'll learn better than to trespass on these consecrated grounds. So the Cerberus, he's currently equipped with, and this is the most I can get him to be useful. If you remember, he's got the speed boots of Living Ribbon attached to his catapult. I wanted to make this general enough because I only have the one improbable catapult, so if I equip it on somebody else, I want them to have some sort of use no matter who their trait is, who their character is. The character has been eaten. If we take a look, the Cerberus Mimic was not killed by an attack, he was killed by the trait Into the World. If he was killed by an attack, that means that Aeolian wasn't doing his dodging. But he is. You got a limited amount of time to kill this person. However, we have enough time. First off, Abyssal Aeolian's going to get to move before her, and even if he couldn't, Transient Sin gets to move again anyways. Now, again, I know that these texts are moving quickly. This is 30 episodes in. We're doing post-game content here. So please, if you are very new to the game, I have plenty of those delayed messages up on the earlier episodes. With the same team, we are now going to attack Alexandria. She's a little bit easier to take care of. Life, death, rebirth, a cycle that has repeated without question since the dawn of time. Today, you will be struck down and reborn anew. I only hope that you will come back to this world a little less fragile. I don't know if she is correct. It says God at falsity, which implies male, but Alexandria tends to be a woman's name. But that being said, gods necessarily don't have gender. I'm just babbling at this point. But we're going to follow the similar strategy. That's why we have the similar characters. She's actually easier than Anneltha. The only thing to worry about is if you were to take a while, her stats might get out of control. But that's not going to happen in this case. So now we're bringing out our old Aeolian Mimic Fusion. He's going to be paired up with an Ossian Defender who can revive him. And for added protection, we fused a Defender with the Asclepius Fae, allowing him to revive if he is killed. Our next opponent is going to be Reclusa. At the end of each enemy's turn, we are the enemy, have a 50% chance just to die. We can be revived, however. It's not like Anneltha. But it's still it's a 50% chance to die. And at the end of their turn, they get to revive an ally. Awesome. However, that's not going to be too much of a worry. We might get killed. Really, rebirth is all we need, but I try to give myself more advantages in case the enemy has extra monsters that are throwing a monkey wrench in our plan. You never know what might happen.
You dare to assault me in my own domain? I do not wish to fight you, Tran, but I will not allow you to soil these lands with your insatiable lust for bloodshed. Prepare yourself!
So we have Rebirth from the Ossian Defender, and as soon as we've taken our turn, we have a chance of just dying outright. The Rebirth will kick back in. If it happens, you'll see that the Aeolian will lose his Rebirth and have half his life. We're going to go in Holy Blast. Okay, so he did die. It did just take him out outright. Aeolian Mimic was one hit killed. We don't really have much we can do with this guy. He did also die. It's fine. Oh yeah, we also have the Anointment bleed out, but none of my builds necessarily require you to have Anointments. Now we're just gonna pop this person. And even if, for some reason, we missed, we still have many lives left over. We have a rebirth on this guy and 3 extra Fey lives. Alright, from here it's just clean up. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring in the Aurum Apocalypse. If I take 4 turns, I'm now immune to debuffs. We will combine that Apocalypse with a Malignant Storm. The Wasted Age ability is very good for keeping the Pariah alive. We are immune to spells so long as we're above 90% health. We're also going to give the Wasted Age into a staff, into one of our Aeolians. Because I didn't have another Aeolian available to be summoned, we're going to give our current Aeolian a Wasted Age staff. So both characters will now be invincible to magic. The third trait that we absolutely need is Consecrated Ground. Consecrated Ground will allow me to ignore damage from minions. Minions do not count as a regular attack that Aeolian can dodge. So, the sidekick must be in the middle to give the adjacency bonus to everybody. One of the other things, we've removed our fermented hops from all of the characters here, because we want to avoid contact with the enemy. Their minions will hurt us. So we've removed those passives, as well as added Contagion and Greater Dispel. There is a spell later on that removes both enemy buffs and minions, but I have not yet unlocked that. Mainly because if the enemy has a minion called Mammon, he will add a shelled effect. I mean, that's not a big deal, but I'm just making sure that I have the options I need or answers I need for her abilities. Next up, Muse. She always has minions, as long as she's alive, like Surathli, but for minions. And at the start of her turn, she casts a spell on me. So kind of like a weaker version of Apocranox. That's why we want Wasted Age. She can still hit me with direct fire.
I know you're here to battle me. Just mind the artwork. It would be a shame to ruin such beauty over a simple fight. Prepare yourself, Tran. I won't go easy on you.
Take a look at all those minions. So if we do nothing, we're safe. If we enter contact with them, and I'm not going to show all of them because that's a lot of text, but if we enter contact with them, we're going to get a lot of bad things happening to us. So we will do nothing. Now, realistically, we just need to survive 4 turns, and we will have this, my immunity kick into effect. We do have one other option, however. And now that we have 2 moves in succession, I'm going to try it. Living Ribbon. Now, this is not my primary go-to strategy, but it is a nice alternative. So this will mean that I'm not going to get debuffed out of existence by her abilities, like Bomb and Flame and Poison and all that stuff. We can see that she did not get shelled to kick in, so that's good. We could try warp realitying her right now. Shell would kick in afterwards, which is too late. If you consider that they happen simultaneously, it's no longer any good to her. So at this time, let's go ahead and use Cast Contagion. I noticed that oh, I guess it's because it's... Alright, well, whatever. We get rid of their minions, and we add a bunch of debuffs to them for every minion that we remove. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of all their shelled. I think only one of them actually has shelled, but we're going to get rid of it anyways. Because we have to chew our way through it. I didn't know it didn't get rid of invisibility, though. So, our primary method was to wait till turn 4. But we had a backup plan. Do you need a backup plan? No. Are you more successful with one? Yes. I have saved the best fight for last. We'll be using the Simple Mimic. He has no artifacts, no relics, and only one spell. Unrighteous Fire. The caster's health is set to 1, and enemies take 30% of the damage. So our last foe is Tamir Murgo, God of Fusion. Whenever an enemy, that's us, casts a spell, their creatures will cast the same spell. Not sure what he just said, but judging by the fact that he's charging at your creatures, it's safe to say a battle is inevitable. Because we are a mimic, we get to go first. And no, I didn't have to bring just one dude. We cast Unrighteous Fire and the enemy dies. The end. Congratulations, we have ascended our Pariah specialization. We now have access to a powerful new perk, as well as an exclusive decoration and creature skin. This is my first ascension. Hey, well, I guess we got, okay, we got that from... Yeah, this is our new skin. This is the reward from killing Temergo. I guess that's also the reward for ascending. Because that's not... you don't normally get a decoration for this. And we get a perk point. But we did unlock lifelong respite. Is that how you say it? I guess that's so that we could afford this point. So it says here, we have a 25% chance to find nether stone. Increased chance to find nether stones. This is always active, even if I'm not a pariah. And there we go. The pariah, as you can see, this even if I don't spend points on this, I will always be limited to 3 monsters. So now that I've done that, any other specialization is going to be a cakewalk. I wanted to get the pariah out of the way first because I think he might be weaker than the deprived. That's my opinion. If we take a look at the deprived means that I don't have fusions. And I still have 6 monsters and then 6 artifacts on top of it. So, I don't know. I feel like having 3 monsters with fusions and artifacts is tougher. Because I only have 9 traits in that case. With the deprived, I have 12 traits. But, yeah. That is the pariah. Alright, and for the skin, apparently I had to look back at the footage. And it is not a skin that I wear, like from my wardrobe. It is actually a skin for my monster for the aspect. It's called the Pariah. So we'll go by name. Right. So, okay, that's my ascended skin. All right. I would have preferred a wardrobe item for my character, but sure. Realistically, the reward you get is better nether stones. I hope that you found this video entertaining or interesting or helpful or anything like that, and that it was worth the time it took to make this video. Thank you so much for watching the Siralim content on my channel. I really do appreciate it. That's why I decided that it was worth the time to revisit it. Thank you again. I'll see you next time.